Next up was Nosferatu. Yeah, this movie crossed 135 million dollars globally. It's Eggers' biggest movie of his career so far. Film had a budget under $50 million.
See, movies stand a chance of making money when you don't spend $1 billion on them. If you
Imagine that.
I know, it's crazy. The less you spend on it, the better chance it'll be successful. Wow. Who could have guessed?
That doesn't surprise me because Nosferatu has a very certain audience. It doesn't have a wide appeal for most people.
And it certainly didn't. Its cinema score was a B-, which is just absolute dog shit. It might as well be an F if it's a B-. So yeah,
I never really
that's Eggers,
with what cinema scores are. Like, what does that mean if it has a B-?
So cinema score is taken at on opening day, and so you're getting the crowds that actually wanted to come see the movie. So I always look at cinema score with interest because
is it like exit polls?
Yeah, they're like exit polls, and because of the people they're polling, I find them interesting because they're generally more forgiving. So you have to look at it at grading it on a scale. If it's an A or an A+, that's pretty good. If you're getting to an A-, it's actually more like a B-, and so on and so forth. So if you come out with a B-, it's like it's death for a movie. So it's really odd that this one is it's still doing really well, despite the fact that the general audience that was excited to see it didn't like it. And that's like Eggers through and through, though. Audiences don't respond well to his movies. They're like for cinephiles, it seems.
Well, they're definitely more niche. Like, I wouldn't recommend them to my parents. It's just
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's why this probably got a B- is because it looks more mass appealing, and then it's still just a Robert Eggers movie in the end, which is like some, usually heady, beautiful looking shots and for cinephiles and not for general audiences. Yes, I did.
What'd you think of it?
I really liked it. I thought it was great. I saw it with an audience that didn't like it too.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they were laughing at the movie and I was getting fucking annoyed. No, I swear to God, it was like sheeple. Like there was a group of, I thought it was like teenagers that were trying to ironically engage with the movie. And then the rest of the theater almost like caught on. And I excused myself for a minute and I caught a couple of people that were also exiting at the same time. And I asked them, I was like, is there a lot of laughter in this? Am I missing the point? And they're like, no, it seems very, very excessive. So I had a really bad experience seeing it, but all in all, I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so like Platoon said on last BSUP, that number one, coming out on Christmas Day, that's kind of hard for families to bring their kids to go see Nosferatu. And for like horror fans, it doesn't have the appeal of like nonstop horror, nonstop action, blood splatters. It's a very, very slow burn. And like Cynic would said, for cinephiles and people that want a slow burn, old school vampire 1940s black and white vibe, if it's that tone, but for a huge audience appeal, it's not going to appeal to most broader audiences.
So I've not had a chance to catch this yet, but I know a few people who have seen it, and the people who do like it seem to be the sort of it's a movie for cinephiles kind of thing. So people at Midnight's actually really love the original, seemed to really like it for its technical qualities and achievements. Not having seen it, I can't really judge. I mean, is that a fair assessment? Like you will like it if you are really, really big into the classic?
It's a very strong aesthetic experience. It's very well crafted and very well executed in terms of its own, visual style and what it's going for. I am one of the few people that really dislikes this movie. I really, really enjoyed his 3 previous films, and this one was a huge disappointment for me. But I'm actually very much in the minority in that perspective.
Why was it though? What was it about it that was so disappointing?
I don't think it's a well-written movie, essentially. I think it's very sloppy. I think it's thematically confused. I think, it's, like I said, it's a strong aesthetic experience, but the writing and the character work is actually pretty sloppy if you really dig down into it. I feel like I've noticed a lot of people people like Mahler and people along those lines. There's a lot of them out there. They're like, oh, I thought it was neat. There was some cool, horror stuff in it. There were some shots that looked really great, but it didn't really connect with me. And I think a big part of that is that the character work and what it actually has to say is kind of hollow, I would say.
Yeah, it is a little shallow. The character,
well, I hated
Lily Rose
Ellen,
Depp's
the
character.
Lily Rose Depp character. I think she sucks. Found her quite insufferable.
So it's kind of like a Dune type movie in the sense that everyone really appreciates the general look of the thing, and so you can tell that it's being made by highly competent people. But then when you try to find something to attach to on the character level or even the plot level, particularly, then it sort of falls short. Is that true of the original? Because I'm genuinely not that familiar with any of the Nosferatu films. I mean, are its faults just the fact that it's remaking something that was similarly flawed, or is it introducing new faults that the original
it does
didn't have?
introduce new things. It is significantly different in ways that matter from the 1922 movie, and a lot of that just comes from the 22 movie is a silent film. There's not a lot of dialogue, and so it has to add quite a bit more. And some of the things it adds don't really work. Some of the things it adds don't gel with what it keeps from the original. I think people come away from this movie like looking at it in different ways, but I feel like a lot of people aren't assessing every aspect of it at once, because I feel like if you look at all the pieces together, it's kind of a mess. It's hard to get any more specific without spoiling it, and I do think you should check it out. Yeah. So, but I'm definitely in the minority there.
Her performance is also really confusing because I think her character sucks, but her performance is a lot of fun. I really actually enjoyed her performance while disliking her character.
I'd agree.
I think a lot of people found her performance unintentionally funny. I think that's where a lot of the laughs come from.
That's probably where it's from.
Yeah, because this movie is like Nosferatu and Dracula, but also with a dash of like exorcism movie thrown in. So there's a lot of possession scenes with her where she's doing her best, like a girl from The Exorcist. And so some of the faces she makes can be quite unintentionally funny if you're not already super engaged with what's happening. So I think a lot of people are like, that looks really silly and stupid what she's doing there. But
I mean, I put one of those silly ass faces as the thumbnail of my review of it. So
like her eyes rolling back in her head and her giant forehead, and she's like her tongue sticking out like it's a lot.
It is.
But all the performances are a bit over the top. They're like a bit camp. So I don't know. Depending on your perspective, you might like it, or you maybe
prepare for a lot of Count Orlok Halloween costumes this year. Count Orlok.
You'd think a lot of girls would like this since it's basically their dream. Oh, look, a psychopath wants to murder my husband for me.
It's true.
That is how it feeds into their narcissism. Oh, look, this person's willing to kill a city for me. How romantic.
And kids.
And children, don't forget that.
Yeah. Oh, look, he stabbed a baby to death for me because I'm so fucking precious. Because I am God's gift. That even a fucking vampire
does it count though? If you look like Count Orlok, don't you also have to be like reasonably attractive in order for the female pro serial killer mentality to come in? So it's fine.
Well, that's the suspension of disbelief in this. Yeah, because
that is kind of the funny thing about this movie in particular, because a lot of Dracula the book and a lot of the ones that adapt it a bit more faithfully, there's a part in the book where he becomes younger again. And so there's that element. In this movie in particular, he just, like the original 22 movie, he just stays kind of ugly and hideous the whole time. So
yeah, but she weighs her like beauty on body count. Oh, look, 500 people died for me because I'm that great.
Well, here's the thing.
You get to see like a 500-year-old prosthetic Dracula dick flopping around.
Maybe he's hung. Maybe it's like a baby's arm.
Well, you see it in the movie.
Yeah,
it's flopping around.
Oh God, I didn't need to see Dracula's dick.
Yeah, and he's like a dead body, so his like dead, decaying dick is just like, whoop, there it is.
It's just
so wait, she blew a decaying sausage.
Well,
is it like a flute? Is it like a flute? Because it's decaying, it's got holes in it, so does she play it like an instrument?
The
I
meat
feel it's
whistle.
like a balloon that you have to inflate, right? Because it's not, if there's no blood circulation, it's not going to work. So you have to, put some air through it or something.
Yeah, they just stick to biting because they don't want to deal with that part.
Because there's loads of rats around the city. Maybe she's accidentally the Pied Piper.
Well, it's funny because you jest, but there is an aspect of the movie that treats her as super uber special for no real discernible reason, and I find that quite frustrating.
It's her forehead.
I mean,
yeah,
it is remarkable.
He just picks her. He just picked her one.
Oh yeah,
No
he
real...
claims he was living in like an eternity of darkness until she came along, and I'm like, fucking why? There's nothing special about her. I mean, there's hardly anything special about her. So it has that aspect to it, the sort of like,
yes, there is capital O opinions. She'll fuck him. That's very special.
she'll fuck a corpse. I guess
She'll
that
fuck a
is
corpse, and that's
unusual.
a huge thing. That's a huge thing for someone who's dead. Get laid.
You know what? Fair enough. Maybe the movie's actually great.
How did he even find it? Did he put like an advert out looking for woman will fuck corpse?
It's psychic.
She calls out to him psychically, and he's
But I want to fuck a bunch of bones. And he's like, here I am.
The truly updated one would be a Tinder profile, wouldn't it? And that's something like you cut, like ideal match cannot like mind the age difference or something. And
Necrophilia.
Yeah.
Interest.
Must be in for some strange stuff.
I'm sure you guys heard though. He does have one hell of a mustache. My God.
Yeah, the mustache is something.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's he mustache?
His comb
He's
over
dead.
is too.
Because he grew up before he died. Huh?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Sometimes your hair keeps growing after you die, so
It makes when he's drinking blood, it's more disgusting. It's visual.
If your hair keeps growing after you die, shouldn't he look like Chewbacca?
Well, it doesn't keep growing for hundreds of years, but it'll keep growing for a little bit.
Yeah, so he should look like his face should just look completely hairy,
like the Wolfman.
Yeah, like the wolf. Isn't that a shit film coming out?
I think
it
so.
sure is.